NBA season's back, man. And this is at the Buzzer Sports where we do all things basketball all the time. And I'm so conflicted right now because I really don't know what to say. And this is the review of the Boston Celtics versus New York Knicks game. Because to be completely honest with y'all, I'm recording this at the start of the fourth. I'm not gonna lie. I'm recording this at the start of the fourth because one, I'm a small YouTuber. So if I can get this out before the big time YouTubers react to it or get their post game analysis out, that's always a big plus to me because people are going to watch. At least I would think so. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to react to the Boston Celtics versus the New York Knicks. And this is something that we kind of saw coming with the Boston Celtics because, once again, they were the most dominant team in basketball last season. You bring all your guys back. Jason Tatum is still a top 10 player in the NBA. Jaylen Brown is probably one of the best number twos in the NBA. You have such a well-organized roster around those two star players, and you have a phenomenal coach. So this is something that I kind of saw coming, but in the end of the day, I did not see it coming at this level. I was watching the game, and throughout the first three quarters, I was able to bring together some notes. I don't know why this camera doesn't focus, but I was able to put together some notes on how this game could have went or how this game was going. And the very first few possessions, you saw Cat getting attacked on defense. In the pick and roll, he was late to pull up to I think a floater. It was a Jason Tatum three-pointer. It was a pick and roll. Jason Tatum pulled up for three. Karl Anthony Towns was late pulling up or late playing up on him, and Jason Tatum was allowed to make a three off that. And then Derek White cuts to the rim. He hits a floater right above Karl Anthony Towns. They were attacking Karl Anthony Towns on defense early, and that's something that I predicted they were going to do because if you're going to attack anybody on defense, it's going to be the two best offensive players on the floor for the New York Knicks, and that is Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. Next up, I kind of want to talk about Cat kind of attacking mismatches. And there is something where we saw the Jrue Holiday guarding Karl Anthony Towns early on in the game. And I think Karl Anthony Towns was not as aggressive as you would want him to be, which is something that has been a weaker part of his game for the past few seasons. It's just him not being aggressive when getting downhill and finishing around the rim. And even then, they still had to send doubles. Boston did. And the Knicks got solid looks. They just weren't able to knock it down from three. And I think towards halftime, the Knicks had 4 made threes to Boston's 17. You're not going to be able to beat Boston if they're shooting above 40% from three as a team, and Jason Tatum has 25 points and 6 for 9 from three at halftime. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Everybody had their fair share of three-pointers, whether it was Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jrue Holiday, Al Horford, Jason Tatum, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser. Everybody that was coming in the game was making their shots. So when we look at this game, at first the pace was great. Everybody was coming down, hitting their shots at a normal time or a normal speed. The Knicks were getting into their offense fairly quickly. The Celtics were getting into their offense fairly quickly. And then something happened when the bench came in. Karl Anthony Towns came out the game for Jericho Sims. And the Celtics went on an 8-0 run immediately. And why is that? Because Jericho Sims is not a center that you would like to have on the floor against such a high level of team like the Boston Celtics. And when we look at this game, this is not going to be me saying that the Knicks season is over. I still think the Knicks are very talented. I still think the Knicks are going to be number 2 in the Eastern Conference. But they definitely have some weaknesses or some things they need to figure out this season, and going up against the defending champions, the team that is head and shoulders the best team in the NBA, is not the game to really be doing that. So I'm still 100% confident in the New York Knicks. I still think they're going to be a great team. They have the defenders, even though their defense was really, really lazy tonight. Hopefully that all can get better, and we're going to dive a little bit deeper into it. I think one thing the Knicks dropped the ball on was throughout that entire first half, you didn't really see much of Jaylen Brown and Karl Anthony Towns two-man game, which I thought would have been very, very dangerous to play against, even if you're Boston, a Philly, a Milwaukee, a Indiana. It doesn't matter, And then what makes it even worse, I'm like, maybe they just did not get the opportunity, or maybe they're just trying to play from behind. But the very second Jericho Sims comes in the game with Jalen Brunson, you instantly see a pick and roll. I've seen multiple pick and rolls with Jalen Brunson and Jericho Sims, and I don't know if it's maybe the New York Knicks have not gotten the opportunity to really get that down packed with Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, and maybe Jalen Brunson and Jericho Sims just have a little bit more chemistry in that aspect. But Jericho Sims is not a player that got many minutes last season either. And when you look at two players players who are the best players and best offensive players on your team, you would want to see them get that fizzled out or get that taken care of, so where you can come into opening night and that's something you can do, whether it's a pick and pop or it's a pick and dive with Karl Anthony Towns rolling downhill, or maybe you just set up more open baskets for open shots for a guy like OG, for a guy like Deuce McBride, for a guy like Mikal Bridges. Even if Mikal Bridges is missing his shots, you still want to have him get the open look so he can have a chance to knock those down. Now, another thing I want to talk about, Deuce McBride came off the bench. I think he had 11 points in the first half. And I just want to say he kept them within at least 15 to 20 points within the first half. Without Deuce McBride, it probably would have been a 30-point game before halfway through the second quarter. The Celtics were making just an extreme amount of volume threes. They made 16 and a half threes last season and made 17 threes in the first half. And do I think they're going to be this hot all season? No. I don't think they're going to be making 33s a night on above 40% three-point shooting as a team. I don't think they're going to be that hot all season. But this is a perfect example of how dangerous the Boston Celtics are when they are hitting these shots. They have their third best player not on the floor tonight. And they still look extremely dominant. It looks like there's no answer for this team. So the Celtics and the criticism that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been receiving all offseason, the way they responded tonight, I don't think it could have went any better. Like Xavier Tillman, Luke Kornet, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, these guys came in and they kept this team afloat. And that's the difference between the Celtics and the Knicks. I just think the Celtics are a way deeper team. And they complement exactly what the Celtics are trying to do. They can hit outside shots. They can drive and kick. They're playing off ball. They're playing 5-out offense. That's what the Celtics offense is, and that's what they thrive on. Just a few more things I want to say, and then we're going to move on to the Lakers and Timberwolves game. And I kind of wanted this to be fresh, a fresh reaction. Ball Dominant is a show I do 2 times a week. A podcast I do 2 times a week from about 45 minutes to an hour 15. I'm going to give it a week of NBA basketball so I can build up some topics and kind of move forward. I'm going to try and get some more guests on the show because it's very hard to just sit in front of a camera and talk with no breaks for an hour and 15 minutes. And yeah, anyway, the 2 things I want to talk about. One, I want to talk about the Knicks defense. And this is something that I thought the Knicks would be able to hang their hat on all season, just because they have such a great wing tandem of Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. Even if Mikal Bridges' jump shot was not falling, you expect him to be solid on defense. And this entire team from the New York Knicks tonight just did not look good defensively. Now, once again, it's a very long season. It's still opening night. I'm not making any bold predictions. I'm not about to come on here and say, are the Knicks going to be disappointing this season? Are the Celtics the greatest team of all time? I'm not doing all that. I'm not going to do all that. But what I am going to do is say that you brought in Mikal Bridges so he can be a Tatum or Jaylen Brown stopper. You brought in OG Anunoby, or you re-signed OG Anunoby so he can be a Tatum or Brown stopper. Maybe not a stopper, but a container, so you can be able to keep up with them offensively. And right now, this Knicks team just cannot do it. They're late on rotations. There's no effort on the offensive glass. They're letting guys walk right into their pull-up threes. Jason Tatum has walked into at least 5 pull-up threes tonight. He's killing them in the mid-range. The pick and roll is awful. They're letting guys backdoor cut to the rim. The defense is atrocious right now. It looks atrocious right now. And once again, I still am not going to say all the Knicks are going to be bad. I still believe that the Knicks can be at the top of this Eastern Conference, or at least the 2nd or 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference. So I'm not going to overreact and say that that is detrimental to their team, or this is something that can terminate their hopes of being in the Eastern Conference Finals. But there are some concerns that are starting to come to light, or have came to light in this opening night. But do I think they can figure it out? Yes. Do I think Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns can get going? Yes. Do I think this team can be at the top of the Eastern Conference, maybe 2nd seed? Yes. So once again, this was a very good performance from the Boston Celtics, and they're showing that they're still the most dominant team in the NBA right now. And I wouldn't really expect anything less all season. I mean, no, they're not going to be this hot all season. Nobody is going to hit 35 threes in a single game and shoot above 40%. It's not going to happen. But that you can't expect them to, you are going to have to guard them like they can do this. you're going to have to guard them like they can do this because you know what they're capable of, and they're the most dominant team in the league. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's about a minute and a half left in this game of the Timberwolves versus the Lakers. And I said I wasn't going to overreact to the very first game of the season, but there are some critiques that I have with both teams in this game. I think JJ Redick has brought a solid game plan to this Lakers team. And in the first half, the Lakers had 10 offensive rebounds. And that's something that you can really look at for this Lakers team as an improvement because they were dead last in offensive rebound percentage last season. And they were dead last in 3-point attempts per game, them and the Denver Nuggets. The Lakers definitely hoisted up a lot more threes. They weren't as efficient. D'Angelo Russell was inefficient from the 3-point line. So was Bronny James for the 3 minutes he played. And Max Christie was also very inefficient from 3 and had 5 fouls. And I think Dalton Connect missed a couple threes as well. But I definitely like what the Lakers are trying to do offensively, and we're going to really break down this game now. First thing I want to say is Anthony Davis looked phenomenal in this game. There were some times where he wasn't finishing around the rim as effectively, but when you're going up against Rudy Gobert, there are going to be times where you just cannot finish around the rim. He is a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, and they had a lot of motion going on offense. They had some moments where there was a guard screening for a guy like Anthony Davis or LeBron James, or Rui Hachimura, just so they could get a smaller mismatch if the Timberwolves did decide to switch. That was something that I found very impressive. Also, at first, when this game first started, I was trying to figure out where D'Angelo Russell fits in this offense. And I think that was a very considerable concern. And something that I really liked is a dribble handoff between whether it's AD, Jackson Hayes, LeBron James, and D'Angelo Russell, where they roll out on the other side and D'Angelo Russell has the option to either take a floater, take the mid-range, or lob it up to Jackson Hayes. And in the first quarter, we saw that with Jackson Hayes and D'Angelo Russell. And we saw that multiple times throughout this game. It was a dribble handoff. D'Angelo Russell going to take it into the screen and roll and being the Pacific ball handler for that screen and roll action. He's going to lob it up to Jackson Hayes, or he's going to have the option to shoot the floater or to shoot the mid-range. And we all know D'Angelo Russell is an amazing pick and roll creator. He's solid in the in-between game, and that's what makes his offense best. So I really like what that brought to, where that action brought to the game. And another concern I have for this game is I don't think the Lakers have something they can go to specifically in late games, in a close game in the fourth quarter, that they can really say that we trust this to go down the floor, in and out, every single possession and get us efficient buckets. So one thing I would like to see is more two-man game between Anthony Davis and LeBron. I don't think that was as predicated enough as it should have been. Whether it's DHOs for LeBron James and Anthony Davis is in the dunker spot, or you can just have LeBron James cutting off ball and Anthony Davis working at the top of the key, because we have seen a lot of possessions where JJ Redick likes his bigs at the top of the key and then making multiple plays. Anthony Davis had a 30-point game and about 15 rebounds. As I was turning the game off, or not even turning the game off, just turning it down and not paying attention as much, he had about 30 points and 15 rebounds. This was about 2 minutes left in the game, but the floor spacing for the Lakers is going to still be a concern. JJ Redick is trying to have this offense where it's heavy on three-pointers, it's heavy on motion action, and there's just not a lot of guys who can be as effective with that type of play style. And I think I understand where you're coming from, where the NBA is going and you have to make those threes consistently. I just don't think we have the personnel to be hitting threes like that. And you would want to have them shoot more threes, but we really just don't have the personnel. So once again, the offense did look a lot better. It wasn't a lot of LeBron and Anthony Davis just save us, or Anthony Davis and D'Angelo Russell just working this pick and roll, or Rui Hachimura, you're just going to work out of the post. It felt like everybody had a objective, or everybody had a goal every single possession. Whether it's Gabe Vincent, my goal is to sit in the dunker spot and to help the ball handler, whether it's LeBron James, D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, get downhill and have a favorable matchup. Whether it's Dalton Connect being, I have to get off the screen and create something that the defense is going to have to pay attention to. It felt like everybody had a goal offensively. So that's something that I liked once again. Now, for the Minnesota Timberwolves, this offense does not look good. This offense does not look good. And we predicted this over here at the Buzzer Sports. We said that there is a world where this offense can look good with Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert and Anthony Edwards, but there is a world where it cannot look good at all. And we know if it is going to look good, it's going to really take time. So just to break down this offense, Anthony Edwards, I do not think he has made the progressions as a playmaker for him to really be the lead guard in this situation. And I don't think Mike Conley is a lead guard, not a lead guard, but an efficient playmaker or floor setter for a team as well. I think he's an off-ball player. I think he's more like Drew Holiday when it comes to being a point guard, so... And then the limitations that this team has off ball. You're not worried about any motion threes from Jaden McDaniels or motion threes from Mike Conley or motion threes from Julius Randle. That's why when you look at this team offensively, I think they're the best when Dante DiVincenzo and Naz Reid are on the floor. They command attention from defenses off ball. Naz Reid commands attention from defenses beyond the arc when he's moving off ball. Same with Dante DiVincenzo. And it's all about having the floor setter to come out and find these guys. Like, if the Minnesota Timberwolves go out and get Lonzo Ball, that's okay. I like that pickup. And it doesn't even have to be a guy that is going to give you 15 and 7 a night, even though Alonzo Ball may be able to give you that. But I'm just saying, it doesn't have to be a guy that's a big name. You can go get a guy like Lonzo Ball who can come in and set the floor. We did not see Rob Dillingham this game. I don't know if he's hurt, but we also didn't see Terrence Shannon. I mean, this was a game where Minnesota was pretty much fighting from behind the entire time. So definitely could have been some minutes where Rob Dillingham could have came in the game just to see what he had. We saw Bronny James, and I'm not going to lie. Maybe this is because it's my favorite team, but I'm just glad we got it out the way. I don't want to see LeBron and Bronny all season. I really don't, because in the few minutes Bronny was on the floor, he's just not ready. And when he stepped out on the floor, he's guarding Joe Ingles, and he guarded Julius Randle. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say Bronny James is just a bad defender, or I'm not going to sit here and lie and say Bronny James is just an awful player. That's not the case. He's just not ready. And moments in the second quarter of opening night, Bronny James does not have to be on the floor. He does not have to be on the floor in the second quarter of opening night against a team that just went to the Western Conference Finals. He does not have to be on the floor. In the few minutes of time that Bronny James was on the floor, he gets taken advantage of by Julius Randle, who is a much bigger, much stronger player. That's an easy 2 points. He's being guarded by Joe Ingles on the perimeter, which is probably the worst perimeter defender on the floor at the time. And he's not worried about Bronny James' jump shot at all. So now, towards the end of the shot clock, Bronny James has the ball. He has no lane to get downhill. You don't want him to shoot the ball, so he immediately gives the ball up, leading to a bad shot. And yes, the Bronny and LeBron James narrative, it's cool as shit. Don't get me wrong. It's really cool. But he's just not ready. And I really don't want this to be a thing all season. Because if we're going to continuously put Bronny James on the floor and he's not ready, we are prioritizing storylines more than winning basketball games. And I think JJ understands that. That's why Bronny only played 3 minutes. You have to find a happy medium, because with Bronny James on the floor, we're not going to win basketball. If he's giving us 15 to 20 minutes a night, he's not going to win. We're not going to win basketball games. He's just not ready. Great kid, great guy, great player, just not ready to be an NBA player right now. And that's okay. Guys like Jalen Suggs, they started out slow. Guys start out slow in the NBA. That's okay. Jaylen Brown was giving you 8 points per game in his rookie season. That's okay. You don't have to be ready the very second you step on the floor. But one thing I don't expect from an NBA team is for you to not be ready and still play significant minutes. I don't want this to be a thing. Send Bronny down to the G League. Let him get better. Let him come up in a couple of games, whether you may be playing the Wizards one night or the Nets or the Trailblazers or the Jazz. You let him come in, see what he can do then. But opening night, I don't want to see him against the Timberwolves. I don't want to see him against the Kings. I don't want to see him against the Nuggets. I don't want to see him against the Thunder. I don't want to see him against playoff teams. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a very late upload. This was my instant reaction, and this is the very first episode to the At the Buzzer Sports post-game reaction show. Let me know if you guys like this. Tomorrow, I will be covering the Hornets and Rockets game. I'm very intrigued to see both of those teams, so I'm going to be covering that game. And I'm going to be covering the primetime game of the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Clippers. Very interested to see how this new Phoenix Suns team looks, and I'm very interested to see how James Harden can lead this Clippers team. So if you guys like this type of content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.